The IMF has said that tougher market conditions and lower commodity prices will keep economic growth across Latin America in low gear. Countries in the region are working hard to attract foreign investment, and Mexico wants stronger trade ties with both the U.S. and China. Here to help us is Shraysi, who caught up with the Mexican finance minister, and you've been covering the spring meetings all week long. Let's start with the Mexican finance minister.
So, Phil, in my interview with the Mexican finance minister, I think the biggest takeaway from that one-on-one was the fact that Mexico has now been slowly opening up its economy by ending these monopolies that have been dominating the economy, as well as hindering economic growth. Mexican finance minister Luis Videgaray also spoke to me about the importance of doing business with China.
Mexico has been growing less than it should, not only last year, but over the past 30 years. The average growth rate for Mexico the past 30 years is only 2.3%. So we need to do things to accelerate growth, not only for next quarter, next year, but to do it in a sustainable way. And that's where the reform agenda comes in place. This is a reform agenda that is designed to promote growth in a sustainable and lasting way. Of course, we have some short-term challenges. A lot of our lack of growth last year was due to the U.S. and the things that happened in the U.S. economy, particularly on the fiscal side, that lessened their growth. And some things were internal, but these are all temporary factors. The government is accelerating spending to provide some support for aggregate demand.
In December last year, the Congress of Mexico very boldly ended the 75-year state oil monopoly that's been going on in the country. How soon until the country can actually enjoy and reap all the benefits from ending that monopoly?
This year is critical for the implementation of the energy reform. The enabling laws or secondary laws will be discussed in Congress over the next few weeks, and also some implementation matters that are not depending on Congress will also happen this year. We're working to make sure that early next year we have the first round of bids for the private sector, both local and international, come in and seize the opportunities in favor of the Mexican people. So this is something that is likely to have an effect, not immediately, not next month, but it's something that will have an effect, a perceivable effect in creating jobs, bringing investment, and lowering the cost of energy for both families and companies in Mexico over the next few years.
For many political observers as well as economists, they say that Mexico is a country of very concentrated power, in some cases outright monopolies. Do you think that all the monopolies that have been present in Mexico have hurt the economy?
I think that having less competition than we should is something that first creates lower growth and also concentrates opportunities and makes it more costly for an average family to pay for the cost of life. As we introduce more competition, and a lot of that reforms is to introduce more competition either to specific sectors like telecommunications or in general, like creating a truly independent antitrust authority. This will create more competition, will open up opportunities for emerging economies and for emerging companies, for small companies to become mid-sized companies and mid-sized companies to grow into large companies. That will create a more diversified base for growth and also for having a more equal society.
Over the last few years, Mexico has been really trying to build its trade ties with China. How do you see that relationship progressing over the next few years?
I think we're having a tremendous opportunity. We're building together a tremendous opportunity. Last year, President Xi Jinping and President Peña Nieto met 4 times. That's a historical high. And we're doing concrete, specific things. We're working on attracting Chinese companies to do investment in Mexico. We're working on setting up a fund that will deliver Chinese and Mexican investments into growth sectors in the Mexican economy and create opportunities for Chinese companies and for Mexican companies. We're working for the Chinese bank to set up shop in Mexico for the first time. So this time of a very close relationship, closer than ever, and for opportunities. And we want to be closer to China, and we think that the timing is very right for that.
One of the big topics of discussion here at the World Bank IMF meetings is tapering and the effect of the U.S. tapering on emerging economies. What kind of impact is the U.S. tapering having on Mexico, and is it actually good news for the Mexican economy?
Well, what is good news is that the U.S. is growing again, and 80% of our exports go to go to the U.S. We do $1 million of trade every minute between Mexico and the U.S. So whenever the U.S. grows, that's very good news for Mexico. The tapering is happening because the U.S. is growing back again. So it's not that is not bad news. Of course, the tapering may introduce volatility into emerging markets. Will create some shortages of liquidity, and we need to be prepared. And what is very important is for the Federal Reserve to communicate clearly to the markets what it's about to do. And I think they're doing a much better job now than they did last summer or last spring when the taper talk started. I think that the market understands it better, and Mexico is in a good position to face this volatility.